They had been accustomed to live under tyranny, but never under tyranny like this. The English conquerors were not so merciful, although they were acquainted with Christianity. Christianity's on trial. By such a course of action, Warren Hastings made the British Empire in India pay. By such means did the aristocrats, of whom the government was the tool, obtain the money which would enable them to live in luxury. The servants of the company obtained, not for their employers, but for themselves, a monopoly of almost the whole internal trade. They forced the natives to buy dear and sell cheap. They insulted with the perfect impunity the tribunals, the police, and the fiscal authorities of the country. They covered with their protection a set of native dependents who ranged through the provinces, spreading desolation and terror wherever they appeared. Every servant of a British factor was armed with all the power of his master, and his master was armed with all of the power of the company. Remember, we're talking about that company. Enormous fortunes were thus rapidly accumulated at Calcutta, while 30 millions of human beings were reduced to the last extremity of wretchedness. They said Britain's little finger, his pinky finger, is more vicious than the loins of Suraja. We are living this now. Correct. We are definitely. These are the connections I want y'all to start making. Under their old masters, they had at least one resource. When the evil became insupportable, they rose and pulled down the government. So meaning like if the guy was too tyrannous, they just tore him down and put some new guy in there. But the English government was not to be shaken off. Oppressive as the most oppressive form of barbarian despotism, was strong with all the strength of civilization. It resembled the government of evil Guinea rather than the government of human tyrants. Now I had to look up the word Guinea. Guinea means genius. So they said this is some sort of government of evil genius. This is how they describe it in the document. This is primary sources, by the way. This is written at this time period. Mohammedan conquerors left this beautiful system, which had much more genuine freedom than the British institutions at the present day, untouched. Worse than the Arab, man? So you see people rising up against Christianity around the world. Oh, well, karma's a bitch. The destruction of local organizations and the centralization of authority. Centralization of authority. What should that remind you of, chat? Communism. The destruction of local organizations and the centralization of authority, which is always attended with the increase of slavery, have been the aims of English efforts. Exhaustion was the result of the excessive taxation laid upon the Hindus by the East India Company. As the government became stinted for revenue, Lord Cornwallis was instructed to make a permanent settlement, by means of which all the rights of village proprietors over a large portion of Bengal were sacrificed in favor of the zemindars, or headmen. So basically it's divide and conquer. They take one group, they side with them, they arm them, they beat up the other guys, and they put them in charge of the other group, who would thus at once constituted great land proprietors, masters of a large number of poor tenants, with power to punish at discretion those who were not able to pay whatever rent was demanded. From free communities, the villages were reduced to the condition of British tenants at will. So what they'll tell you is that Britain went out around the world. They're these democratic, about freedom, and they're the Constitution, and wouldn't you want to live, you wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And it's just like, well, actually, had you not imposed your shitty ass system around the world, we could have been just chilling. I could have been playing my bamboo flute with my tiger drawers on and my 7 wives. You know what I'm saying? Just minding my business.